Flesh and Blood announced their next set, and what I love about this is the draft thing that they're doing. So they've done it a bunch of different ways. They've done it a million different times. Like they've done
1,000 monkeys, 1,000 typewriters, dude.
4 heroes with a lot of generics. They've done 4 heroes with minimal generics and talents. They've done 3 heroes with like a
shared
tribe pie kind of thing. They've done the most recent was what, Dynasty?
2 heroes that share a talent and
Uprising?
1 hero of a different talent with just 3. That was
weird.
Yeah.
That one was weird. But now what they're doing is they've got 3 classes.
Ninja, Assassin,
Ranger. So for those of you that don't play Flesh and Blood, what every set, is obviously exploring a new part of the world. And so what this set is exploring is Metrics has this area called the Pits. And if you've watched Arcane, it's basically that exactly.
I haven't watched it, but it is on my
But I'm sure they were developing it well before Arcane was published, but it's that exactly. Now, there's not a monopoly on, this concept of an overworld with a seedy underbelly. Like that's Tales all this time. So I'm not saying anything was plagiarized or anything, but that'll give you an idea of what it is. So there's the upper ground fancy people have, and I'm paraphrasing this. Yeah. They've mined all the gases and stuff out of this thing, and when they did that, there was a bunch of tunnels and stuff that were revealed, and eventually people take up residence down there. They don't have any laws, and it's home to criminals and various outcasts, but they have their own kind of legal system of sorts through, strong-handing and swords. Anyway, so we're down in the pits. We're exploring that whole theme. So you have this kind of side thing going on of like, oh, what's going on down here? Why are these people like diseased, and how is that happening? And then are they going to rise up and take over Metrics, whatever? But they've got 2 heroes for each class. And then when you're drafting card pools, but you can choose one of the 2 heroes that you inevitably draft for. So like, if I'm drafting a bunch of ninja cards, you don't know if I'm playing this ninja or that ninja.
Which from the article is Katsu and Benji.
So that to me is pretty fascinating because are there going to be certain ninja cards that are better with one hero or another? So can there be multiple ninjas at the table not taking each other's stuff? Is there going to be generics in the set? Do we know that?
I don't think they've said that breakdown. We also don't know if there's any talent cards. What we do know is 1 Fabled, 5 Legendary, 31 Majestic, 51 Rares, 128 Commons, 20 Tokens, and 3 Marvels.
Wow. Well, so dual class cards? Do you see these?
That's the biggest thing.
What's this?
That's actually...
How many ways do they want to slice this pie?
The most. So it is nice. They keep tweaking these little levers, right?
It's not a generic. It's
not generic. It's also not a multi-class card. Yeah. So it's hypothetical you could get like an Assassin Ranger card that could only be played by someone that is Assassin and Ranger. Yeah. But they have this little line, the pipe in the middle that is Assassin or Ranger. And I think that's one of the drafting format for Fab is probably the weakest of the just based on the way the game is designed. You have these classes, so like a wizard and warrior and stuff. And if you're a warrior, you can't play non-warrior cards. You can play generics, you can play warrior or whatever. But in a set, when you're drafting, compared to something like Magic, the grandfather of all this, you can actually splash cards in Magic from any color. You also inherently play multiple colors in a Magic draft.
Yeah, it's like spoils.
So in that way, when you're drafting a certain number of cards, and in Magic, a certain number of your cards in your deck are actually just resources.
Right.
So you need way less playable cards. But in Fab, with this last set was a really good example of after pick 6, there was just so few choices actually happening.
Yeah.
And you were sort of on a path, and if you get cut off by the end of pack 1, you're sort of just good luck. Yeah. So I don't know what the quantity of these multi-class cards is, but generics and then multi-class cards. Because multi-class, developmentally, I think the more generics that you create, the more what do you call it when everything's the same?
Yeah, sameness.
It's not synonymous. It's like or monotonous,
ubiquity.
But it's somewhere in the middle of that.
Monotony.
Anyways, if you have too many generics that are good, decks are going to start looking a lot like each other all the time.
Right. It's always the problem in neutral cards.
Yeah, but then if you are releasing, for Constructed, releasing class cards is really clever because you can release a card for Ranger that is very similar to a card you made for Warrior, but it's going to hit different because it's in a different class, right?
Right.
And maybe come with slightly different tweaks to how it functions.
It'd be worth about 3 value if it's a warrior card.
And about 3 less if it's a
bump
ranger
those
card.
numbers down to where it's a 3.
Yeah, it is always
no matter what
case,
you're doing. It's
that's
3.
the color pie, dude.
Yeah, you get
but
3s.
The multi-class is a nice way to open up a draft format where this is sort of like what we saw with Arya, where there are 2 of the 3 heroes are lightning, and 2 of the 3 heroes are earth, and 2 of the 3 heroes are ice, and it's a triangle. So those cards play similarly.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have these like, this works for 2 out of 3. But then you also still get to introduce, and it's kind of genius, if there is actually a class color pie, and it's a Venn diagram of classes next to each other where Ranger does share certain things with Assassin as an example, and then seemingly Assassin shares something with Ninja, which makes a lot of sense to me. And who knows how far down that goes. But on the surface, that's a clever way to add something new to the game that doesn't really add anything new to the game. Yeah. Functionally, it's not getting more complicated necessarily. It does make, it just occurred to me, it makes binders a nightmare.
Binders are a nightmare, and pour one out for the deck builders out there. Like the deck builder software people making Fabrary and all that. It's just like every time a new set releases, they change what your classifications can be. Yeah.
So how
homogeneous? Yeah, that's it.
Homogeneous. There it is. I knew it was somewhere in there.
Thank you, Chad.
In the pocket. But generally, biggest thing is it this year? I think it's this year. No, it's next year. When are they moving to?
Oh, you're asking the wrong
3
guy,
draft
man.
sets. I think this year we still have one more.
I think it's just one more.
We have one more supplemental set, or a set that's not a draftable set, is like a mainline set or whatever it is. How does this set generally hit you?
The drafting limited portion of it is all that I need. I'm jacked about it. Yeah. The metric stuff or the pit stuff is flavor-wise for me. It hits for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that will enjoy that. I'm glad to see Azalea get some more support. The kind of the grossness and the grimness of the pits is not really my jam. I'm playing Bolton recently, so that tracks. But I'm curious to play. Apparently, there's a trap ranger.
Yeah, who looks absolutely disgusting.
How you make that happen without it being awful to play against is a great question. I just hope it doesn't turn out that it's playing against Jinteki Personal Evolution, and it's just, am I going to kill you or not? And then you have to make a decision knowing very little information, and then just roll the dice. Yeah. I hope it's not that kind of a vibe. Now, knowing Flesh and Blood, they don't really operate that way, so I don't think it will be.
I mean, it could be as simple as his ability, or there's a piece of equipment, or I don't even know. But like the idea is play traps from hand, or traps don't take up your arsenal slot, or I don't know. Like it's not that they are spicy with what they're showing, but they're rarely going like over the top crazy with something.
Yeah, and we saw. I mean, it may be more like Icelander. Like Icelander does the exact thing that you would expect a trap ranger to do. It's like they have something in their arsenal, and every time you try to do something, it's awful.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just
taxes
that.
You, and some or penalizes you, or damages you, or something like
I'll
that.
almost guarantee that they'll have the the text that says your opponent can pay 1 to prevent the effect. They'll like cancel that text on the existing traps at least.
Interesting.
Or maybe they'll just do new ones and be like, these old ones were weird. We were not thinking correctly about
instead of trying to go back, they'll just move forward.
Yeah.
He looks like, looking at this picture, and his name is Riptide. He looks like the kind of...
It's a little watery sounding, let me tell you.
...person that would hurt you. See this thing going on down here? That doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, I know.
I will say, I could... So for me, these are 3 of the 3 classes that I'm not particularly engaged in. Like Ninja hasn't really been my thing. I could get convinced to play Assassin.
You gotta bring out that Kylo Ren underbelly.
Yeah.
There's the darkness. I feel like the darkness is waiting.
This Uzuri could... It's like someone from Mysteria that became part of the Spider Network assassin stuff.
Yeah.
That's the hero that
probably still has a good heart deep down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I will say, one thing I really like, there's 3 marvels in this set. And these are, the way they describe that is research on the 3 deadly diseases in the pits. These things look awesome.
The hybrid cards look insane, dude.
Like, it's getting closer and closer to being a map. And I love maps.
The Marvels,
so,
man.
Yeah, look at that thing.
They totally blew it up on that. If you're not a Flesh and Blood player, check out the Flesh and Blood website. Look at this preview for Outsiders, and just look at the Marvel version of these codexes.
Of Frailty.
It's so cool what they're doing. I never thought, honestly, I would be around and a part of a community of a game that actually just might go there.
Do it.
It might actually get up to the levels of the big three.
Yeah.
At a certain, I mean, it's got a ways to go, obviously, but even where it is right now, it's like this is bigger than anything I really ever expected from any TCG.
I think I've been watching on the break. I watched a lot of content.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. Tied it right back to the beginning. And one of the people that I watched is someone I'm familiar with historically, is Simon Sinek. Start with Y, the whole thing. But another concept he talks about a lot is the finite versus the infinite game. Mm-hmm. And they're two very different types of games and or strategies or things. Like finite is defined rules. There's agreed upon, here's who we win. A game of Fab is a finite game. Mm-hmm. Publishing Fab is an infinite game.
Right.
And a lot of times I think publishers and businesses frame things in the finite, which is we want to be one of the big three, we want to be the biggest, or we want to be this successful, we want to do this. I get the sense that for James and Legend Story, it's an infinite game. So the goal is
it like that,
to continue to get to expand and explore and publish this game. Mm-hmm. And they make a lot of decisions that even Fab 2.0, I think there's a lot of ways they could have handled that scenario to make more money now or be more successful now. And instead they chose something that just takes a longer term perspective on it. And we'll see how it all plays out. But I get a sense that they're very infinite game minded. Like this is not about success today. It's about, are we going to still be making this game in 20 years?
That's why they're bringing in more draft sets.
That's right. And listening.
Because that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So Fab looks good.
Look at, there's pre-releases and stuff. They also announced the Pro Tour 3 happening in sunny Baltimore.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting, I know loosely where it's at. I had to look. And I knew it was close to Washington, D.C. And
that's where they got imposed from.
It's kind of between D.C. and New York City. I think that's where Baltimore's at.
Baltimore.
So that'll be interesting. I've never been to Baltimore.
That's Worlds in Baltimore?
Pro Tour 3.
Oh.
April 27th.
Okay.
Through 30th.
Pro Tour 3.
A lot of discussion about that.
Got it.
You know.
Are you going?
I'm planning to, yeah.
If you get the invite, if you get the ticket?
Yeah. I mean, that's like step one. We'll see how ProQuest
You don't have one
goes.
like cashed?
No, I have spent it at Worlds. And then...
guess you got to be good.
Yeah. Oh, you just got to go prove it. Speaking of good...
Well, thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. This looks exactly like a Desperado.
Triple ice.
Very happy about
right?
that. If you've been following us... Cheers, my friend. Welcome back to 2023. If you've been following us for... Let me take a sip. That ice is like...
You got the cherry and the...
Super good.
That's just kind of
Thank you, everyone out there. If you haven't been following us, normally Fab was on Tuesday, and I guess SoulForge would have been on Wednesday maybe. But have been working for a while towards what we call 3.0 of our local store. Part of that is a cocktail program that we're doing. So Steve and I are, testing it out as they go.
This year is all about that project.
Yeah. The Pro Tour, planning to go. I don't have one cashed. I was going to say something.
Were you missing the part where you were going to get a Pro Tour invite and then still have not?
Well, the ProQuest season hasn't happened yet.
Oh.
That's how you do it. It starts this weekend.
Well, does Hamilton have one for Winning Worlds or whatever?
He's got PTIs coming out his binder. He's got so many PTIs. He just keeps getting them and doesn't need them because he's number one in the world, so he gets auto-invited for ELO or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So
you could try that approach.
Well, yeah, his approach to just win things. Yeah. You know what? That reminds me. I remember back in 17 Destiny Worlds. We're practicing in the hotel before the event started. I have this amazing picture where you just like lean back and you're like closing your eyes. I almost died because you're lit, and I took a picture, and then you said, "I know what I need to do. I need to start winning." And I just lost it. Like
he did not start winning.
Yeah, no, you did good. You were one game out of the top cut at Destiny with the Qui-Gon deck, nonetheless. I mean, you were there to make a point.
Hipster nonsense.
But yeah, so I am planning to go to Baltimore. Even if I don't qualify, I'd probably still go because a lot of the team will be there and there's going to be a calling and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know if I would. I'll have to make the judgment call if I don't win it. Win a ProQuest is super hard. I mean, one person gets to qualify.
Win on Sunday.
But I'll have to make the decision at that point if I remember what I was going to say. If I'm the kind of person that would buy a PTI or not.
It's cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. But what I was going to say...
It's like buying like that mat that says first place, you know?
They announced late last year... Yeah, I don't want to do that. They announced late last year that they were cutting one of the Pro Tours from the schedule this year. Mm-hmm. So, to me, Pro Tour, Nationals, and Worlds are kind of like... I'll just go to those 3.
Down to 3.
It was a really nice time.
It's 3 sets. All the vacation
they can release a set. They can give it 6-ish weeks and have a big event. So I love that change to this. Last year was too much.
It was too much.
One of my big goals for the year
was gone half the year.
Not to be burnt out by the end of the year.